Hello and welcome to Get Well, Stay Well. So I'm Felicity Corbin-Wheeler. I'm delighted to have Dr. Patrick Vickers with me today. Dr. Patrick Vickers has flown in from Mexico, and we've just done one program. We're going to do some more programs with Dr. Patrick Vickers because the Gerson treatment, the Northern Baja Gerson Treatment Center, is just so wonderful at healing all disease. So Gerson is not just for cancer, as I had in 2003, and I got well with the Gerson therapy. But this is why I'm so interested in having Dr. Patrick come and talk about healing disease the Gerson way. So welcome, Patrick. It's great to have you with us again.
Yes, thank you. It's nice to be here.
It's lovely. So tell us about your clinic.
Yeah, so 4 years ago, we opened up a clinic in Rosarito, Mexico. We just felt that the Gerson therapy had become stagnant. It wasn't being progressed. And so I really felt the need that we start taking Dr. Gerson's work and we start advancing it as Dr. Gerson himself would have. So 4 years ago, we opened up a clinic in Rosarito Beach, Mexico. It's an absolutely stunning facility. We're on the 21st floor of a modern high-rise, and we've got 9 jacuzzis, a sauna that's right on the ocean. We've got 3 or 4 pools, and we have a beautiful 10-room facility atop the penthouse floor of the high-rise.
Fantastic. It's a wonderful place to heal. And
Yeah.
I came out, as you know, last year and did some filming at the facility you had before, which was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
And this is even more gorgeous.
Yeah,
So,
it's stunning.
you know, the difference between being in a hospital and coming to a beautiful place like this to heal is amazing.
Well, I was adamant that, my patients have a very beautiful, quiet, peaceful, serene place to convalesce while they're receiving the incredible power of the protocols that we utilize at our clinic.
Now, I've got a lot of people on my Get Well, Stay Well courses and listening to the programs who are actually doing the coffee enemas. So
Yeah.
people want to know exactly how to do this properly.
Yeah.
So perhaps you can enlighten us as the world authority.
The world authority on the coffee enema.
And you and I both practice it still. That's the thing.
Absolutely. I've been doing it one a day for 20 years.
And you've never even had cancer. So you're
No.
just doing it to keep well.
Well, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Absolutely.
We buy insurance to protect us. Well, this is our insurance.
Yes.
So, but anyway, the coffee enema. Yeah, there is not a more potent way to detoxify the human body than a coffee enema. Your liver produces an enzyme called glutathione transferase. That's the most potent detoxifying enzyme in the human body. When you do one coffee enema, the production of glutathione transferase goes up 600 to 700% greater than normal because of the palmitates, the palmitic acid that's in organic, properly roasted coffee. So that palmitic acid is what the body uses to make glutathione transferase. So the production of that enzyme goes up 600 to 700% greater than normal. There's nothing on the planet that can do that. So yeah, the coffee enema is an absolutely vital process in our protocol. And it's simple. I mean, you just take 3 tablespoons of coffee, organic, properly roasted, medium roast coffee or light roast coffee, and you boil that for 3 minutes. And you simmer it for another 15 to 18 minutes. You strain out the grounds. You now have, let's say you'll have probably 8 ounces, 12 ounces of coffee concentrated, and then you add enough water to make 1 liter. And you take that rectally and you hold that for 15 minutes and you let it go. And it sounds dreadful and sounds painful, but it's really not. As you know, it's probably one of your favorite times of the day.
Well, I find it the most wonderful detox. And when I actually had pancreatic cancer, I did the 5 a day because they took the pain away.
That's right.
Incredibly.
That's exactly right.
And it has been known, it's like an anesthetic, isn't it? It's been known for other things.
Yeah, absolutely. Most of our patients are terminal cancer patients, so they're all suffering with pain, or they're all suffering with nausea, and they're just this general feeling of malaise, right? Well, when they come to our clinic, they come to us on morphine, they come to us on other pain medications, and typically within a week or 2, they're essentially off of their medications. Not all of them, but they're certainly being reduced off of those medications. And certainly within a month or 2, maybe in your case it was a little longer than that, they were completely off their morphine and all their medication drugs for pain. So yes, it is definitely an analgesic for sure.
So you mix the elimination, you're detoxing people in the best way in the world, and you're also putting good nutrition into the body.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the body needs nutrition. And the Gerson therapy provides 20 pounds of organic fruits and vegetables every single day, mostly in the form of juices. Our patients are getting 13 juices every day, one every hour from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
That's wonderful. I
Yeah.
mean, to have that done for you
Yeah.
when you are so ill is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the person who comes with them, because you kindly include the husband or wife, mother,
Right.
father, whatever.
Yeah.
But somebody comes with them. They have somebody there to learn how to do it all, and then they'll carry that on when they get home. Because I think this is so important that people maintain the program. You know, I've maintained it on my own now since 2003.
Yeah.
But I love that way of life. It's the best way of life. The
Yeah.
food is the best ever.
Yes.
And you really don't want to go back to the things that made you sick in the first place.
Yeah.
So
Your body
Patrick-
will reject it. I mean,
So Patrick, what do you think is the reason? I mean, I think I know, but the reason why people are so sick now?
well, it's really no mystery. You know, we've been led to believe that cancer is this big mystery, and it's really not. Back in 1900, 1 out of every 60, some say 1 out of every 100 people came down with cancer. Now it's 1 out of every 3.
Yeah.
I mean, what could that possibly be? It's simple. It's certainly not genetics. Genetics doesn't change that rapidly over that short period of time.
Yeah.
The answer's simple. It's called the Industrial Revolution. When the Industrial Revolution came about, we have belched every poison into our air, our food, our water, our cosmetics, all of these things today that we're using, all of them combined are what's causing these massive rises in advanced terminal diseases. It's really no mystery. To say that genetics is the cause of these diseases, it's really just throwing the American people or the world public a curveball to divert their attention from what the reality is behind these diseases and convince people that there's nothing you can do about it. You need our drugs, you need our chemo, you need our radiation, you need our surgery. You can't heal yourself. Nothing can be further from the truth. These diseases are a result of poor living, and when you reverse the lifestyles and you live a life more designed by your Creator inside the laws of nature, those natures protect, and those laws protect, and those natural laws heal.
So really it's a matter of epigenetics. It's above genetics, isn't it?
That's exactly right.
Absolutely. And then people will get well. Now, what about exercise?
Yeah. Well, that's a tricky question. If Dr. Gerson were alive today and you were at his clinic, he wouldn't let you get out of bed for the first 6 weeks, other than to come eat your meals. The whole secret to curing disease is the production of energy on a cellular level. Even your top cancer researchers today, they're now focusing on the mitochondria. These little things you have in your cells called mitochondria that produce energy. Well, that energy the immune system needs to rally an immune response. And when you see someone who's sick and dying, what do you notice? They're lethargic because they've lost the capacity to produce energy on a cellular level. So everything we do is based on that production of energy on a cellular level, and that requires nutrition. That is how you heal the human body.
So you really must have the organic fruit and vegetables as well. It's no good getting away with ordinary fruit and vegetables that have been contaminated with pesticides and fertilizers.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, plain and simple, if our patients do not receive organic produce, we can't heal them. Organic produce has all the enzyme content, it has the nutrition, it lacks all the herbicides, pesticides, fungicides that we're poisoning our food with today. So if it's not organic, we cannot heal our patients.
That's right.
Yeah.
So when people come to you, they come for normally 2 or 3 weeks, do they?
Yeah, the typical stay at our clinic is 3 weeks. We require a minimum 2-week stay because we understand that sometimes financially people can't extend a stay to 3 weeks or more. We actually have had people stay up to 3 months. But our standard stay is 3 weeks long. You really need that amount of time to rest, begin to heal, get some momentum going in the healing process. But the therapy is as simple as it sounds. Fruits and vegetables, coffee enemas, it's actually highly, highly specific. And our patients need those 3 weeks to really learn how to take the therapy home and continue it at home. Because for you and me, someone who's healthy, the aspects of the therapy for someone who's healthy, there's fruits and vegetables that for a cancer patient, they're not efficient. You know, avocados, for example. Avocados are very high in fats. And if you have advanced terminal cancer, if you're eating avocados every day, there's a strong chance you're not going to heal. So a lot of those specifics are going to be learned at our clinic while you're learning therapy.
And you have things like the sauna, which is really important, isn't it, to sweat toxins out?
Yeah, we have a far infrared sauna, but even more importantly now we're using something called a far infrared wand that comes out of Japan. It's a handheld wand, and it delivers infrared light directly to the tumors. And that's actually better than a sauna, because getting back to the issue of exercise and Gerson not allowing exercise, if people exercise with advanced cancer, or if they're sweating in a sauna for long periods of time with really advanced cancer, they're depleting all that energy we're trying to create on a cellular level. It's all about the preservation of energy and the creation of energy on a cellular level. So we have a sauna, but we really don't use it for long periods of time, like maybe 15, 20 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week, because it is absolutely crucial that a patient create and guard that energy for the use of the immune system. We see it all the time. We see people who go home, they continue playing tennis, they continue exercising, continue jogging, all while doing the Gerson therapy. They don't get well.
Right.
They don't get well if they have advanced cancer.
You know, I think that we've talked about exercise because we wanted people to oxygenate themselves.
Right.
But you have better ways of doing that, don't you?
Well, exactly. So it is important to oxygenate tissues. We know that cancer, viruses, bacteria, they can't survive in highly oxygenated environments. But exercise isn't the answer. We have other ways of doing that. You have ozone therapy. You have hyperbaric oxygen. You have hydrogen peroxide therapy. So when we give our patients hyperthermia in a jacuzzi that's heated up to 112 degrees, we'll throw in 2 to 3 cups of pure 35% hydrogen peroxide. That oxygenates tissues. So you can do that at home in a bath. You can add 2 cups of pure hydrogen peroxide to a bath, and that's going to oxygenate your tissues. You know, as well as I do, there's these little units that you and I use that create ozone. So we'll ozonate water. You can ozonate water and drink water, or you can ozonate a hot tub, a bathtub, and oxygenate your tissues that way, but certainly not getting exercise.
I was really thrilled with the water ozonator, I must say. We both use that, and
Yes.
it's a little machine that bubbles the ozone into the water, the pure water that you've already prepared. You're using reverse osmosis. We're using distilled water as well. But we have to get the ozone, we have to get this oxygen into the body, because cancer can't live in an oxygenated environment, can it?
That's right. And so we're talking about oxygenating tissues, and it seems like the simple solution to that would be to deliver oxygen to the body through the mechanisms that we just explained. But that's really not how you should oxygenate tissues. That's an adjunct to what we're doing. But the true oxygenation of tissue comes through alkalinizing the body with fruits and vegetables. When we're talking about alkalinity and acidity, right, we're talking about alkalinity, good, promotes health, acidity, bad, promotes disease. But what does that mean? That's never really truly explained on a cellular level. Well, when we're talking about alkalinity and acidity, we're talking about pH. pH is potential hydrogen. So acidity, defined, is the buildup of hydrogen in the body. And when that happens, you cannot oxygenate tissues. And the reason why is because when oxygen approaches cells that are highly charged with hydrogen ions, it literally gets repelled away. And so that acidity, which is defined by the buildup of positively charged hydrogen ions, that prevents the proper oxygenation of tissues. So there's only one way to truly alkalinize the human body, and that is through fruits and vegetables. Why? When you eat a fruit and vegetable, it gets broken down into a compound called potassium hydroxide, okay? Now when you write hydroxyl ions chemically, it's OH negative. Hydrogen is H positive. We need to neutralize that H positive molecule. So when you break that food down into potassium hydroxide, hydroxyl molecules, you have an OH negative ion reacting with an H positive ion. What do you think gets formed? 2 H's and an O, water. That's the neutralization of acidity, realkalinizing the body. And all of a sudden, when you do that, now the body can accept oxygen. In order to create energy on a cellular level, what do you need? You need oxygen. You can't create energy on a cellular level without oxygen and without sugar. So those two things together, that's how we're healing disease.
So what vegetables would you recommend people to use?
Well, on our therapy, 20 pounds of fruits and vegetables, 13 juices a day. The vast majority of those fruits and vegetables are carrots, Granny Smith apples, and a variety of greens. Our green juice consists of 1 leaf of chard, a myriad of different lettuces, a green pepper, a half of a green pepper, watercress, red cabbage, endive. So all of those things combined make up our 8 to 10 ounce green juice with the Granny Smith apple. Granny Smith apple only. Unless you can find a variety similar to a Granny Smith apple that's more sour and loaded with malic acid. The sweeter the apple, the less malic acid is available. Malic acid is extremely important to run the energy cycles in the body. An apple a day keeps the doctor away.
I was just going to say that just goes back to what we were always told.
Exactly.
Apple a day keeps the doctor away.
That's exactly
and
right.
when you juice them, of course, you can get so many more apples into the body.
That's exactly right.
Which is why I really live on the juices now.
Yeah.
And also blends. I have the little NutriBullet, and you can blend things as well.
Sure.
And put in maybe a banana. How would you feel about adding a little fruit like that? Or is that not good for you?
Okay, so let's talk about a banana.
Yeah.
Our patients can't have more than a half a banana a week.
Right.
Okay? You know, a banana is not a fruit. A banana is actually an herb. And you've heard the phrase going bananas and going nuts,
Right.
Well, that means we're going crazy, right? Going bananas and going nuts. Where does that come from? That comes from millennia of experience of watching when people eat too many nuts and seeds or too many bananas. Believe it or not, when you eat too many bananas, too many nuts and seeds, there's certain natural chemicals in those two things called amines. And these amines, the body has a hard time breaking down. And if you eat too many bananas, too many nuts and seeds, it can wreak havoc on neurotransmission in the brain and can make some people a little loopy. Like autistic children, if you give them a lot of bananas and a lot of nuts and seeds, their minds can go crazy because of those natural chemicals that their brains can't break down. So our patients, we don't give them bananas. At the clinic, they get a half a banana per week. That's it.
So it's cutting out a lot of the salt as well, isn't it? Because that's something that people are so mystified about.
Yeah, well, so salt, any way you slice it, good salt, bad salt, is sodium chloride. And sodium chloride destroys the thyroid gland. Yes, our bodies need salt, but the amount of salt that the human body needs on a daily basis is 230 milligrams a day. That's it. That is less than a quarter of a teaspoon per day. So if you are going to use salt, naturally we want to use these less refined salts like Celtic salt, Himalayan salt, and those salts, they're 86% sodium chloride. So they can still be destructive to the human body if consumed more than a quarter of a teaspoon a day. Table salt you don't even touch. That's 99% sodium chloride. But for a cancer patient, they really can't have any sodium at all. Because that sodium, not only does the chloride molecule destroy the thyroid gland, which is responsible for creating energy on a cellular level, the sodium causes cellular edema. Because sodium and water, they'll enter the cell, they'll swell the cell up, you can't create energy, you can't detoxify, you can't utilize nutrients properly, none of that if you're eating any kind of amounts of sodium.
And of course the main thing is to come off the MAD diet, what I call the MAD diet, which is meat and dairy, isn't it?
Yeah. Meat and dairy, can't heal on meat and dairy either. If our patients eat meat, eat cheese, drink milk, they won't survive. Across the board, they won't survive. And there's a reason for that. There's many reasons, but I'm going to tell you the main reason. When we eat meat, dairy, what are we doing? We're generating acidity. Now, on a daily basis, the kidneys, they preferentially want to dump sodium. That's what the kidneys want to do. But when you're generating this acidity from eating meat and from eating dairy and all these other things that we're putting into our body that is acidic, the kidneys now have to dump that acidity. They'll preferentially now dump the acidity in exchange for sodium. So instead of dumping sodium, which it preferentially wants to do, it'll now dump the acidity and it'll reabsorb all sodium. And if it's reabsorbing all that sodium, you can't create energy on a cellular level because, again, you swell up with the cellular edema.
So you've got to put potassium in instead, haven't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dr. Gerson came up with a special potassium compound powder that we add to every single juice of our patient. And that potassium does a number of things, but the main thing that it does is it forces sodium and water out of the body. Because there's an inverse law in the body that if you eat sodium, the body dumps potassium. You eat potassium, the body dumps sodium. So our patients get no sodium and their bodies get bombarded with potassium. And when they come to our clinic, almost every single patient, invariably across the board, will dump 7 to 10 pounds in the first 2 weeks just in water and salt weight alone.
That's amazing,
Yeah,
isn't it? So
everybody.
you get slim as well as getting well. Which
Yeah,
is,
our patients lose a half a pound a day on average.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all part of the thing. And, you know, sometimes cancer patients say, I'm losing too much weight. And I say, well, what do you weigh now? And they say, oh, maybe 12 stone. And I'm saying, well, you're way too heavy already.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
you know, you can come down to the proper weight.
Yes.
And when they do that, of course, they do lose a lot of the toxicity. And, you know, people have been so toxic from the heavy metals that are being sprayed around. You know, we've got the chemtrails now, which are being sprayed around. And, of course, we've got the heavy metals in water. And we're living in a perfect storm, aren't we, Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, we're living in the most toxic environment in human history, and it's only getting more and more toxic. What we're dealing with today is nothing like what we were dealing with 20 years ago when I started this. The cancer cases coming in now, they're coming in younger and younger. The cancers are more and more aggressive. I mean, it's really at a crisis state. It's epidemic at this point.
Yeah.
I remember being a kid, hardly anybody was getting cancer back then, back in the 80s. You know, maybe it was 1 out of every 12 or 15 people. Now it's, like I said, we're down to 1 out of every 3.
Oh, it's absolutely shocking. And also the mobile phones. Now, talk to me about that, because I think the mobile phones and the electromagnetic radiation we're getting is really, really dangerous.
That's absolutely right. I can't tell you how many patients come into our clinic and their cancer is a result of computers or cell phones alone. And I tell the story of an Afghani guy. A guy from Afghanistan came in with a 20-pound sarcoma in his belly, highly aggressive sarcoma. And I asked the family, where do you think this came from? Because it had to come from somewhere. It was so big, so aggressive. They had no idea. Well, I give a lecture to the patients, and I lecture on cell phones and computers. After the lecture, they come back to me, and they say, Dr. Vickers, he's a computer programmer, and he works from home. And he lies on his bed 9 hours a day, 6 days a week, with his computer on his belly, doing his work. And that was the cause of his cancer, undoubtedly. And today, cell phones, nurses today, they have pockets where they put their cell phones here during their shifts. I've had at least 3 nurses come in, and they've had breast cancer right where they had their cell phones during their shifts.
It's really shocking, isn't
Yeah.
it? And, you know, our present day life is so different to how things were even, 20 years
Yeah.
ago, 30 years ago. And, you know, the antibiotics and every drug that you have,
Yeah.
of course, damages the liver, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's not one drug that's not liver toxic.
So really everybody should be doing these coffee enemas. It doesn't matter whether they have cancer or not. People should be detoxing from this lifestyle.
Well, people say to me, when I tell them that I do a coffee enema every day, they say, well, isn't that a little bit extreme? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. It's very extreme. We live in an extreme society. You know, 100 years ago, when the world was pure, there weren't those chemicals being sprayed on our food, the water was pure, there would have been no need to do a coffee enema every day. But in this environment that we live in today, we're breathing, eating, drinking poisons every single day that we can't even see. And so to do a coffee enema every day, as we mentioned, an ounce of prevention being a pound of cure, everyone should be doing them.
You know, I trained with Dr. Brian Clement at Hippocrates Health Institute as well. And he said in 20 years' time, everyone will be vegan. Everyone will be on the juices. And that was some years ago when he was training me. So I think we're moving more and more to that. You know, you start to see juice bars opening up.
That's right.
Raw food restaurants.
Yeah, well, the education that goes on through the internet, through TV is very powerful. But unfortunately, the more people become educated on that, the more the forces opposing these things become more and more aggressive in destroying them. As you'd mentioned earlier, the doctors being killed in the United States today. We're always under that risk in the United States. 2 of my colleagues that I personally knew are one of those 25 people that you mentioned. So it's becoming a very violent political industry, so to speak.
Okay, well, Patrick, it's been absolutely wonderful to have a chat with you. And again, we've run out of time, but we're going to make some more programs. And I just want to thank you so much for coming over
My
and
pleasure.
sharing this really life-saving information with us. Because, you know, so many people are living in this toxic soup. And we have to really learn how to detox, how to look after our health, and how to get well and stay well. And people, I'm so thrilled because people are watching the programs that I put out every week. So get well and stay well, and we will see you next week. Okay, God bless.